The rain hammered against the windows of our Chicago apartment as Jennifer and I sat across from each other at the dining table we'd bought together 5 years ago. The silence between us had become heavier than any argument we'd ever had. "I can't do this anymore, David," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. I looked at her, really looked at her, and realized I was staring at a stranger. The woman I'd fallen in love with during our college years had disappeared somewhere along the way. "Is there someone else?" I asked, though part of me didn't want to know the answer. Jennifer's eyes darted away. "Does it matter? We've been broken for a long time, David. You know that." She was right. We'd grown apart slowly, imperceptibly, until suddenly there was an ocean between us. My career as a software engineer had consumed me, while she'd find solace in her work as a marketing director. We'd become roommates who occasionally remembered they were supposed to be in love. The divorce proceedings were surprisingly simple. No children, thank God. We split our assets down the middle, signed the papers, and that was it. 10 years together reduced to a legal document and separate bank accounts. 2 weeks after the divorce was finalized, I saw her at our favorite coffee shop, sitting across from a man I didn't recognize. She was laughing, genuinely laughing in a way that she hadn't been with me in years. He reached across the table and took her hand, and she didn't pull away. Something broke inside me that day. That evening, I opened my laptop and started searching for jobs abroad. Within 3 months, I'd accepted a position with a tech startup in Barcelona, Spain. I sold most of my belongings, packed 2 suitcases, and bought one-way ticket. On my last night in America, I drove past our old apartment, wondering if Jennifer was inside or if new tenants had already moved in. As my plane took off the next morning, I watched Chicago shrink beneath me. I was 34 years old, divorced and fleeing to a country where I barely spoke the language. Barcelona swallowed me whole, and for the first few months I was grateful for it. The city's chaos was welcome distraction from the ordered life I'd left behind. My apartment was a tiny studio in the Gothic Quarter, all exposed brick and crooked floors. From my window, I could hear street musicians, late-night revelers, and the constant hum of the city that never quite slept. I made friends slowly. There was Paolo, my Italian colleague, who insisted on teaching me Spanish through drinking games. And Isabella, the woman who owned the cafe below my apartment, who'd taken pity on and confused Americans struggling to order coffee. "You look lost," Isabella said one morning, sliding an espresso across the counter. "Is everyone lost?" I replied. "No," she said simply. "Some people are just afraid to go home." 3 months after arriving, I met Natalia at a company event. She was a graphic designer, half Spanish, half British, with an infectious laugh and a directness that was refreshing after years of careful conversations with Jennifer. We started as friends, meeting up for tapas after work, exploring the city's hidden corners. One night, after too much wine and not enough sense, we ended up back at my apartment. The sexual tension that had been building for weeks finally broke as she kissed me against my doorframe, urgent and hungry. "Are you sure?" I asked, even as my hands found the curve of her waist. "Stop thinking," she whispered against my neck. "You think too much." We stumbled onto my bed, shedding clothes along the way. Her skin was warm beneath my touch, and for the first time in months, I felt present in my own body. We'd made love slowly at first, then with increasing intensity, both of us seeking connection or just the reminder that we were still alive. Afterward, we lay tangled in my sheets, the streetlights casting shadows across her bare shoulders. "I was married," I said suddenly. Natalia turned to face me. "I know, Paolo told me. And you're here anyway?" She traced a finger down my chest. "David, we're all carrying something. The question is whether you're going to let it define you." But later, alone in the darkness, after Natalia had gone home, I checked my phone and saw messages from my friend Kevin back in Chicago. "Dude, did you know Jennifer's engaged?" My hands shook as I opened Facebook. There she was, Jennifer, radiant with a man from the coffee shop, a diamond sparkling on her finger. The post was from 2 weeks ago. Engaged? Already? We'd been divorced for 5 months. I did the math. Felt the sick realization settle in my stomach. She must have been seeing him before we split. I didn't sleep that night. The next few weeks passed in a blur. I went through the motions at work, smiled when Paulo made jokes, even saw Natalia a few more times, but something had shifted. "You're not here," Natalia said one evening at a beachside bar. "Your mind is somewhere else." After she left, I finally called Kevin. "Tell me the truth. How long was this going on?" Kevin sighed heavily. "At least a year before you split, maybe longer. His name is Brandon. They worked together." People knew David. Nobody wanted to tell you. The betrayal felt both shocking and inevitable. All those late nights Jennifer claimed she was working, the business trips, the way she pulled away from my touch, it all made horrible sense now. "Why didn't you say something? Would you have believed me?" Kevin asked quietly. "You were so determined to save the marriage." "I started writing after that, not for publication, just for myself. Long, rambling documents chronicling everything I'd felt, never said. The loneliness of lying next to someone who'd already left, the shame of being the last to know. Isabella noticed the change. "You look changed, sadder, but more real." "Is that good or bad?" "Neither. It just is." She poured my coffee. "My husband left me 20 years ago. I was angry for years, let it poison everything. Then one day, I realized I was giving him more power, gone than he ever did when we were together." Her words stuck with me. I started running along the beach every morning, pushing my body until the physical pain overwhelmed the emotional. I took Spanish classes seriously. I said yes to invitations I would have declined before. And slowly something shifted. Jennifer's engagement still hurt, but it became background noise rather than constant scream. I could think about the marriage without the crushing weight of failure. 6 months later, I received an email from Jennifer. Subject line: "I'm sorry." She'd written a paragraph. Justifications, explanations, apologies. She was getting married in 2 months. She hoped I was well. I read it twice, then closed my laptop. I didn't respond. Some conversations didn't need closure, they just needed to end. Spring arrived, bringing warmth that seemed to seep into my bones. I'd been in Spain for almost a year. Working was going well. I'd been promoted to lead engineer. I'd stopped seeing Natalia romantically, though we still remained friends. One Saturday, Isabella invited me to her family's Sunday lunch. At the table, surrounded by 3 generations, sharing food and stories. I didn't feel like an outsider, I just felt present. That evening, I called my mother for the first time in weeks. "David," she sounded worried. "Is everything okay?" "Yeah, Mom, I think it actually is." We talked for an hour. She told me about home, my father's retirement, my sister's new baby, life continuing without me. "Are you ever coming back?" she asked. I looked out at the Barcelona skyline. "I don't know, maybe, but I needed to leave to figure out who I was." After we hung up, I looked at Jennifer's Facebook page intentionally for the first time. She'd gotten married the previous month, and she looked happy. I waited for the anger, the jealousy. Instead, I felt nothing, not numbness, but genuine neutrality. Her happiness had nothing to do with me anymore. I started dating again cautiously, nothing serious for the first time in my adult life. I was comfortable being alone with myself. 2 years after leaving Chicago, I found myself on a plane heading back for my sister Emily's wedding. I'd put off visiting, afraid of seeing Jennifer, of confronting the life I'd left behind. But Emily had been patient long enough. My parents looked older, smaller. At the rehearsal dinner, Kevin pulled me aside. "You heard Jennifer's pregnant?" I felt the words land, waited for the sting. It didn't come. "No, but good for her. I hope she's happy." "Really? You're okay with it? Really? What we had is over. She gets to be happy, and so do I. Those things aren't connected anymore." At Emily's wedding, I gave a speech about love as a choice, but about courage, about how the strongest relationships are built on truth rather than comfort. Afterward, my mother hugged me tightly. "You've learned a lot, the hard way, but yeah, I have." On my last night, Kevin and I sat on his porch, drinking beer. "Are you coming back for good?" I thought about Barcelona, my life there, the person I'd become. "I don't think so. Barcelona's home now. but I'm glad I came back. I needed to see that I could. You're different, stronger. You know what I've learned? Sometimes running away is the bravest thing you can do. Not because you're escaping, but because you're choosing to start over. On the plane back to Barcelona, I wrote in my journal, I used to think Jennifer leaving me was the worst thing that could happen. Now I see it as the thing that had to happen so I could find myself. Landing in Barcelona felt like coming home. Isabella was at the cafe when I stopped by. Welcome home, she said. How was it? Good, really good, but I am happy to be here. She smiled knowingly. That's how you know you've really moved on, when you can go back and it doesn't hurt anymore. That afternoon, I stood on my balcony looking out at the Mediterranean. My phone buzzed messages about work from Paolo, from the woman named Sofia asking about dinner. I felt the fullness of my life here, the richness of the person I'd become. Yes, I'd run away after my divorce. Yes, Jennifer had moved on quickly, probably before our marriage had even ended. Yes, it had all been painful and messy and unfair. But standing here now, I understood something essential. Sometimes the end of our story is just the beginning of a better one. Not better because it erases the pain, but better because you've learned to carry that pain and still build something beautiful. I texted Sophia back, dinner sounds perfect. Then I sat down and opened my laptop. I'd been thinking about writing more seriously, maybe a book about expatriate life, about healing, about the unexpected gifts that come from the worst moment of our lives. The cursor blinked on the blank page full of possibility. I began to write.